mornings. I am coming to you live from the playa. So I'm having my morning coffee. I forced myself to get up early this morning because I have somehow managed to not do any kind of helpful shifts whatsoever at my camp because Burning Man. So pro tip, you should definitely get a metal cup. They are insulated, so if you go to different spots on the playa that are giving out free drinks, which is everywhere, I drink lots of orange juice and like other juices because I'm in recovery. These cups keep, whether it's cold or hot, warm or cold, a lot of people keep them hanging on the side of their bags. I am OCD, that's not fucking happening, so I hold mine in my backpack, or but I very rarely have it hanging off of my backpack. It's usually inside. So strap in. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm going to touch on some things and some stuff that I think are really important. So I camped with a camp that provides you with a hex yurt, air conditioning, and power. I know, I'm bougie. A lot of people come out here and rough it, but I was not doing that for my first burn. It's really hard for me to just sit on video with this on my head because I'm self-obsessed, so we're gonna take it off. But the reason why, or we'll take it to right there, the reason why I have it is because your hair just gets covered in playa dust, and I don't want that all over my bed when I'm sleeping. I feel like I'm probably one of the cleanest people here. The way you can tell the difference between people who have just let the playa be on their body and people who, like me, are adamant about trying to be clean is there is a layer that is thick of playa dust on things. And so you can tell if somebody who like hasn't had a shower in a few days, or someone who has like made it a point to try to stay clean based off of how much playa they have on them, being the dust that's out here. So I'm at a camp with power, so I actually brought my regular coffee pot. Some people do French press. You can find food all over the playa, you just don't want to rely on it. I found that one thing is true. I heard a lot about you're gonna take home a lot more food than you anticipated, and it is because there are so many camps out here on the playa that feed people. I was riding around out in Deep Playa, which basically, so there's the city of Black Rock, city of Burning Man, and then there's outside of that there's Playa, which is empty. There isn't any camps out there. It's just empty desert. And then there's Deep Playa, which is like really deep into the desert. I do believe that there is a trash fence all the way around Black Rock City, so you can only go so far. It's not like you're gonna get lost in the middle of the desert. I haven't been to the trash fence. I don't really want to go, but I have heard people who do go out there. But I was riding around in the Deep Playa last night, and literally there's this giant sign that says no dancing. There was a guy up on top of the sign dancing around with no clothes on except for a jacket and a yellow fanny pack. So that was interesting. It wasn't out of the ordinary necessarily for me because I come from spaces where they're like really eccentric and strange, and I do drag, so I'm like used to seeing strange things all the time. But the full-on nudity is kind of entertaining. For the most part, it's kind of just whatever, but him being up on this giant fucking sign that said no dancing was fucking hilarious. So there's that. And I was riding around and I saw a line of bikes, which is one thing that you're gonna find on the playa that I don't know that anyone has ever, in videos that I've watched, that anyone has ever touched on, is that as you're riding around in Burning Man, in Black Rock City, if you see a line of bikes outside of somewhere or a line of people outside of somewhere, it generally means that there's something free, whether it's food, alcohol. In this case, in the middle of the desert where there are no permanent structures except for art, there was 2 cars that had pulled out a bunch of shit and set up like a little feeding station, and they were feeding people grilled cheese sandwiches with pickles on them, which was strange, also good. So I had a grilled cheese sandwich last night before I went to bed. if your camp has a shower, I would recommend, for me, I am using 2 gallons per shower, probably because I'm bougie, and it's because I don't feel like the way our shower is made, it's got a hot water heater, a light, and the water comes out pretty fast. So I want it to be warm, so I like turn it off and turn it on, and sometimes the hot water doesn't pop on and whatever. But to feel like I'm really getting all of the playa off of me, I use 2 gallons of water. So there's that. I try to drink about 1 gallon a day, and I've noticed that because I'm by myself, that the ice that I'm getting is melting. And that's another pro tip, is you double bag your ice in Ziploc bags, and you don't just leave it in the regular ice bag. And then as it melts, you can put it in your water pack and drink it throughout the day. So that's how I've stayed hydrated. Basically anything that you're looking for, you can find out here on the playa. I think that a lot of people say that Burning Man can't be described as far as like what it is and what it's like. And I think that it's not that hard to sum up, but some things you just can't put into words. But I'll give you an example. I was hanging out at the Recovery Village, which is an anonymous village. So if you're in recovery, know that there's a safe space for you. I was hanging out at the Recovery Village, and I heard these people screaming, "Get off our lawn! Get off our lawn!" And I looked over, and there's this camp, and they have a white picket fence outside of their camp. So in the middle of the desert, across the street, these hypothetical streets from where I was at, they had a little patch of turf, fake grass, and a white picket fence around it, and a sign that said "Stand here." And so you go following the direction of the sign, and you stand on the grass, and then they scream into a bullhorn, "Get off our lawn!" And they have water pumps that spray water, and one of them will come running out and spray you and hose you down, and then you run away. It's kind of like a cute little game. And so I would say, like, that's an example of some of the things that happen on the playa that are just really fun and entertaining. Another place that I went to was, the theme was "Dip Your Nips," and I was like, what the fuck? And essentially, whether you're a guy or a girl or whatever, you take your nips out and you dunk them into ice cold water, and while you're dunking them in ice cold water, someone spanks you and feeds you a pickle. Makes no sense. Who thought of that? Whose idea was it? I don't know, but it was very entertaining. I will say the first couple of days, I don't know if it's because I'm in recovery and I came alone, I felt like very underwhelmed. And I still don't feel overwhelmed by the whole experience, but I will say that your first day getting into playa will probably fucking break you. Doesn't matter who you're with, it doesn't matter how well you're planned, especially if it's your first time. Getting onto the playa and realizing that you have to create a shelter to live in for a week is mind-blowing. So I definitely had a day one playa meltdown, and was kind of shitty to some of my campmates, but it all got smoothed over, and they did show up to help me set up my yurt, which is massive and not small enough to have set up by myself. Other things that you might need that I necessarily didn't think about, you definitely want to bring a heating system, even though it might be hot during the day. This year was my first year, and apparently it's the best year like ever. The weather is perfect, but it's usually gruelingly hot, but the temperatures drop super low at night. So I have a little portable heater that I use to keep myself clean or warm. I was just thinking about how filthy and disgusting my yurt is. I thought that I was gonna get here and organize everything and like make everything look super clean. No, that did not happen. I don't give a fuck. Most people keep their shoes outside of their tents or outside of their yurts. I'm obsessive and I don't want it to rain or something like that. So I bring my shoes in and I just keep them over by the door. I did bring my bike in this morning, which is covered in playa dirt. And I realized that a part of the reason why people keep a lot of stuff outside is because when you bring playa dirt into your house, you can smell it. Like, you can smell the dust all over everything. So I brought the bike in and it just stunk up the yurt and I had to put it back outside. So I put it back outside. I covered the seat with plastic just in case it rains because it's been a little bit dribbly today. Clothes. Okay, so as a plus size person, I was really concerned about getting chupper while I was out here. But I personally have not done hardly any walking. I purchased an e-bike and I will tell you, as long as they do not ban them and it's a low speed e-bike, it's a great investment. I would encourage you to go a size up. I got the basic cheapest e-bike you can get for like $500 from Sam's Club or Costco. I found that it only holds charge for about a day, meaning like from the time I wake up in the morning until about mid-afternoon, like 3 or 4, I can go a few different places, and around that time it'll die and I have to come back and charge it. So that is one thing that I did notice, is it's been pretty fucking annoying to keep like having to run back to camp to charge my bike. So if you can get one with a larger battery life, I would suggest that. But also, the bigger the bike, the faster it goes and the less they like it here. They want everyone to go at a really slow pace. I don't know how the fuck people do it. I have no idea. I do not want to ride a bike with just my body power around this place. Everything seems so far away. I'm at Esplanade at 9:30 and the recovery village is at Foghat, which is 3 streets down, and 5:30, which is a lot of streets over, and it takes me a good 15-20 minutes without distraction to get from that to that. And that's not even the end of the playa. The playa goes all the way to 10 and all the way down to 1, and then it goes from A all the way to J in the streets. So however many letters that is down to J, and 10 streets. And then there's kind of like side streets in between, so it can be really confusing. Another thing I didn't know is that when you first get here, oh, that's my sticker, you're gonna get, like, if you did will call and you didn't order it online, you're going to get a package of like little stuff. And if it's your first time at the gate, they give you an opportunity to get out of your car and get dirty on the playa. You could do a dirt angel, I did a cartwheel, and you ring a bell and your cherry's officially been popped and you're no longer a Burning Man virgin. So there's that. When I first got out here, I was thinking to myself, because I was just kind of feeling very isolated and alone. I'm in recovery, my fire troop is not, no one in my camp that I know of is in recovery, so I just was very disconnected from folks and I didn't necessarily feel like a part of anything. And like I said, there's a lot of cool things here, but nothing that I've seen that I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. It just seems normal to me, if that makes sense. So if you're like a really eccentric person and you have a lot of really weird friends and you like exist in very alternative spaces, Burning Man might not be as jarring of an experience. And something that I've learned, like talking to people about their experiences and why they come, is that a lot of people in their day-to-day lives don't get the opportunity to just be free. Like, they're like corporate people, or they're like business owners, or they live in a rural town or whatever, and they get to come out here and just be free and be themselves. One guy I was talking to yesterday was saying that he lives in like rural Virginia or something, and that he could never go out on his bike with lights all over it, dressed in a muumuu, with people not staring at him and like trying to murder him, which is sad. It's really sad that in the world today there are still a lot of places and spaces where people exist where they can't be their authentic selves, and I can kind of identify, but not really, because I've designed my life in such a way that the artist in me gets to thrive constantly. And so minus 7 to 3:30 when I'm at my regular 9 to 5 job, the rest of my life is magic and art. So it didn't occur to me until I had some of those conversations with people that Burning Man is more than just an event in the middle of the desert. It's a place of self-expression for a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to express themselves and who they really are at the core. And so I would say that if you're looking for a place to explore and be your most authentic self, I've seen a lot of like muscle heads out here in like onesies or like wearing flamingo outfits or half naked or just nude or whatever, and I can't imagine what it would be like living in a world where they weren't allowed to do that ever. Whereas as a drag performer and a queer performer and a fire performer, I'm half naked often, so I get to do those things and experience that part of life regularly, whereas other people may not have a safe space that they can go and do those things. And so kind of like getting to see other people's perspective on it and why they come here has opened my mind a lot. The first few days, or the first couple of days, I was thinking to myself, I don't think I'll be back here. But as I've connected with the other folks in recovery, I'm like, okay, it might be something that I could do again in the future if I camped with that camp and I bought all the supplies. This was my first year. I was totally unprepared. I had a very small amount of time to get myself together. So it is fun, but I would definitely say that if you're in recovery, you should just camp with Anonymous Village. That's just it. That's just what I think. And otherwise, and if you're coming by yourself, you should definitely try to camp with people that you know. And I feel like that's some of what was missing a lot for me in my experience, was the fact that I was feeling very alone and I didn't have people to talk to about things. And I was just in my yurt, outside riding around, in my yurt, outside riding around. And then finally, when I started connecting with other folks that are on a similar path as me, that's when I started feeling like, okay, I can enjoy myself. And I made a decision yesterday that I was going to go out and I was going to enjoy myself. And so I've been stopping at camps and I've been engaging and meeting people and trying the different things. Last night, I was riding by, and though another thing I didn't hear anybody talk about is that each camp generally will have people outside of it trying to entice you to come in. So a camp is basically like, think of it this way. Say you're in a downtown area and there's tons of bars and each bar has a different theme. That's kind of what camps are like on Playa. You can be riding your bike and you'll hear someone scream, drag show, which is what I did last night. And I was like, well, I do drag. Of course I'm going to do this. And if they only had like the songs pre-downloaded, so they didn't have any of the cool songs that I usually do. But I found one. And I did a little number, and it was nice to be up on stage in front of a bunch of people, and everybody was like super enthusiastic. So yeah, there's like so many different camps that do so many different things, and someone just has an idea, and they're like, I went to a camp the first day, and it was a key camp. I was like, what the fuck is that? And you go in and you pick a piece of paper out of a hat, and it has an Asian symbol on it, a letter, I think it's a word, and you match the word up to these keys that are hanging, and you pull it down, and then you can go and read what the word means, and then somebody can give you a henna tattoo. I think mine's pretty much gone, but it was right there. So like there's all types of really cool little things. I would compare it to, like, there's the example of a bar, and each bar on a street has a different theme, but also kind of like going to a farmer's market and each booth has a different object or a different product. That's kind of what it's like. So there's bikes everywhere. There's all of these booths or camps everywhere. There are people everywhere. Some are dressed in really cool clothes. Some are dressed naked. Some are in onesies. It's very much whatever you want to wear. And then at night, because it's so dark out here, everybody has lights all over their bike. I had saw a picture of Burning Man from like up high prior to coming, and the amount of lights that were in the photo, I was like, what the fuck is that? And then once I got here, I realized that's all of the people on bikes that are lit up in the middle of the night. So that is my takeaway for today. I liked it. I still like it. I think I would definitely come back in the future. I don't know that I would make it a thing that I do every single year, but I could see myself popping back up. So that's my 21 minutes and some seconds of kind of telling you a little bit about Burning Man, my experience so far. So cheers. I'm going to go be of service. Bye.